Once again, we're grateful to be able to host you here today. So we're starting off with a panel discussion on the significance of interagency, multidisciplinary, and cross-border collaboration. Again, for those anyone that wasn't here yesterday, my name is Barrister Ruth Yvonne Benson Idahosa. I'm the founder and executive director at Pathfinders Justice Initiative. We're an NGO based here in Nigeria, where we have an office in New York and a satellite office in Abuja. Our focus is really on providing support for survivors of sex trafficking, primarily who've been trafficked out of Nigeria and have returned. But we also have a project here in Benin called the Redemption Project that provides support for women who are trapped in prostitution or trafficking here in Nigeria as well. In addition to that, we're also providing support. I should mention that we also have a shelter here in Benin in the event that you have any survivors that you'd like to refer to us for rehabilitation. In addition to the work that we do with survivors, we're also focused on prevention. So we provide support for women who are at risk of becoming trafficked by providing them with mainly economic empowerment as well as other support. The Justice Initiative is the arm of our work that is providing support for this particular program. And it's, we conduct trainings, we'll conduct research. I mentioned the research that we recently conducted yesterday called The Pathway to Prevention that focuses on recruiters of sex trafficking here in Edo State. So that being said, I would like to welcome our panelists for today. Shervin Oftade is an associate expert at the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, which is the UN agency that's leading the fight against organized crime, drugs, corruption, and terrorism. Professor Yinka Omorogbe, who will be joining us shortly, is the chairperson of the Edo State Task Force Against Human Trafficking, which was inaugurated by His Excellency Governor Godwin Obaseki in 2018 to fight the scourge of human trafficking in Nigeria. Steve Miano is the Director of Law Enforcement Development at the International Justice Mission based in Ghana, a global organization that's partnering with local justice systems to end violence around the world, for people, particularly for people living in poverty. Barrister Agbeze Umume is a senior project assistant at International Organization for Migration here in Benin. Barrister Rosemary Emotogo is the head of legal and prosecution at the Benin Zonal Command at the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. Moderating this panel will be Mr. Youssef Abdul, the head of the Benin arm of the Joint Border Task Force. So I'll hand it over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the founder, executive director, Pathfinder Justice Initiative, and all other protocols duly observed. We are here to discuss collaboration. Another synonym to collaboration is partnership. Honorable Justice just came in. You are welcome. The PGI put together this program to enhance cooperation, collaboration, or partnership. Their objective is for all people that are involved in trafficking issues to come together and proffer solutions towards fighting this scourge, towards solving the problem, because it's of common goal and interest to all stakeholders. My slides, please. We on among the panelists, just like the producer, we are having who are yet to come, or they will soon join us. We have IGM who will join us virtually, and NAPTIP is there, and UNODC is there, and IOM is there. We were products of partnership. JBTF, just like we said it yesterday, is from, we are NAPTIP officers. Yet, we're carved out due to collaboration with British government. And that's why we're doing what we are doing, or we achieve what we are achieving. Without wasting much of our time, what is collaboration? Many of us may ask. Is working or doing something together in order to achieve a shared interest or good. Partnership is one of the strategies used by NAPTIP to combat TIP. Trafficking in person, of course. We have 5 strategies in NAPTIP. We have partnership, we have prosecution, we have prevention, protection, and policy. So, collaboration or partnership is one of them, and it's there in the Act. And NAPTIP is one of the few agencies that work, collaborate with a lot of agencies within and outside the country. Section 5L of NAPTIP of TP Act 2015 empowered the agency to strengthen cooperation and conduct joint operations with relevant law enforcement and security agencies, international authorities, and other relevant partners in the eradication of trafficking in persons. The purpose of collaboration is to, not limited to this, become informed through data sharing. We saw the data UNODC expert revealed yesterday. It was not particular to a particular. It was not particular on an agency. It was all about Nigeria. Why not work to prevent it as a goal? Because many of us were looking at it and said, is that what it is? This is overwhelming. At a point, we even brought a state that had never had prosecution for the past 8 years. So it's a crime again not to prosecute from your state. It's a data, but we should work towards it because no state is exempted. Become informed through data sharing. It will make you to make good decisions, solve problems, and manage your projects. If you have cooperation, if you have collaboration, it will enhance all this. To be fair, just like I say, we were products of collaboration. None of the finalists, including my superior that is among them, have seen these questions. I have a series of questions that are here. Sorry, Izzy, have you seen it? Have you seen my questions? Have you have access to these questions? None of you have seen it. It's question that we are putting them on spot. And we want to share it and let's see how we solve it together. Let's start at once. Who will go first? So we may have other questions from the audience. When you want, just signify. We ask them what we should do it in a very understanding and disciplined way, so that it will not be around. Who will go first? Lady. I watch you all. Out of 4, they throw the question to lady. You say, why me? Is it because ladies first? What is the best way to encourage the organization to collaborate?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rosemary Ibabogo. I'm representing the North Solar Commander Union, who is unavoidably absent on an assignment in another jurisdiction. He said, what is the best way to ensure to encourage collaboration? The best way to encourage collaboration is when there is partnership with each other. When there is a case, or maybe as an NGO, and you have a case, if you have not partnered with, say, a federal agency or other agencies, how would you be able to get justice for the victim that have come to you? If you have not partnership with a federal agency, let me say, for example, NAPTO, and you get a victim who has come to complain, it is not just enough to rehabilitate the victim, but getting justice is also the key. And for you to have justice, you have to partner with NAPTO, because we have the power to arrest, to investigate, and to prosecute. So I think the best way to encourage collaboration is to partnership with one another.
Thank you. The same question goes to you. You are NODC. What is the best way to encourage organization to collaborate?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I think a good way to encourage collaboration is actually to show the results that it can produce and how collaboration can tackle some obstacles that we have. So if we take a concrete example, for example, of a case where, I don't know, let's say one specific law enforcement agency does not has some challenges in getting the suspect or some other issues. Once it goes towards another law enforcement agency or NGO or other partner that helps not getting what it needs, then I think it shows that without that collaboration, it would not have been possible. But when we show that this kind of collaboration produces results, is good for all the different stakeholders, I think that's probably the best way to show why that's the right way to go. I think people usually, not necessarily people, but like the different stakeholders, I think I could include all partners in that sometimes are working in their own mandate without exploring how they can work with other partners, and it's our duty to actually show that we need to go beyond that we need to build bridges between the agencies, because that's the only way to go for a successful way forward.
Thank you. The same question goes to ION.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and particularly the organizers. Thank you for this question. Just in addition to what has been said, which I 100% agree, I think the ways to encourage organizations to collaborate, well, it could be informal ways and it could be formal. We could strengthen MOUs with organizations, and we can have lots of state-level structures. Well, for IOM, we have a lot of this already in place. As you know, in trafficking, there are different dimensions. So for the issue of protection, which encompasses so much involving reintegration. We have state-level structures, and I'm happy to tell you that most of the organizations here today are members of that state-level structure. We have a CMED group, which is run by the Edo State Task Force, and they have been doing so well. Just like what UNODC added when we showed a practical example. Sometime last year, a returnee came to our office and told us that that trafficker is in town, and she can identify that trafficker. We passed that information to NAPTIP immediately, and that same information was passed to JPTL. All these are because of partnership. To our surprise, within 24 hours, that trafficker was arrested, and I got a feedback much later that they got a conviction. That trafficker was convicted, which made us so happy. So this is result of partnership. Sometimes it can be formal, and other times it can be informal.
Thank you. Hello? Yeah?
Yes.
Please, we are asking the question of what is the best way to encourage organization to collaborate? Want your response, please? Are you? What is the best way to encourage organization to collaborate? We are asking.
I'm sorry, I'm unable to hear the
Okay.
question.
Okay. We are asking, what is the best way to encourage organizations to collaborate?
Yes, thank you. I believe, first of all, hello everyone, and thank you for having me. I would say the best way for organizations to collaborate is to begin this collaboration prior to an event. And so just like the training that you're attending right now, don't go to this training just to focus on the material. While you're at this training, do the best that you can to network with individuals, to gain their contact information and build that foundational level of trust between each one of your organizations. And so I feel like that is the key. Oftentimes I have observed where we try to begin collaboration during the middle of what I would consider a crisis or an actual event. And so I would just encourage each and every one of you to really start building those networks and relationships before that crisis or event takes place.
Thank you for your response. I think we are certain and almost satisfied with the response from everyone. Is there anybody who is not satisfied? Okay. Then we go to the next question. Because what the last response now is, even here, the program is all about collaboration. We should take it back. We should take our numbers. We should know that this is what ETAP can do. This is what NIS can do. This is what DSS can do. It's part of it at our level. The next one is, let me start from A.
Okay.
What are the benefits of sharing and collaboration? Did you hear that?
What are the benefits of sharing?
Sharing. But what are the benefits of sharing and collaboration?
this is a large fight, and it's one that's not going to be won individually. And what we've seen exactly in Ghana, I'll just speak to I'll just speak exactly to the work that we do here in Ghana. Is we work a national program on the Volta Lake, which is the largest man-made lake in the world, and there are several other international NGOs that work directly with law enforcement and the government, but it's such a vast area that it's very important for us to share information. And the reason for that is because while the work is contained to the lake itself, there's a large migration within the fishing industry. And so while we may be working an investigation with law enforcement in one area of the lake, due to weather changes and things of that nature, our targets may actually end up migrating to a different section. And we know that another organization is working there. So we will do our best to share information with that organization, because the ultimate goal is to rescue these victims and hold the perpetrators accountable. And so I just use that as an example to say that the fight is too big for us to build a fence around the information that we have. And so we have to build trust with our partners and be able to share that intelligence and information to move these investigations forward and to ultimately rescue these victims.
Thank you. The same question goes to Ireland. What are the benefits of sharing and collaboration?
Okay, thank you for the question. The benefits are quite enormous, but I'll just restrict myself so other panelists can have a bite on it. When you collaborate, your expertise is harnessed, because every organization has its own strategic or its own area of expertise. But the more we collaborate, the more we can harness that expertise. We get results faster and we get them better. And funny enough, the traffickers and the smugglers, they collaborate a lot for a successful trafficking to be done across, particularly external trafficking. It's just an outcome of collaboration. The trafficker sometimes may not be here, but is collaborating with his network here, and things are done. So in that same way, we must collaborate. I'm happy to tell you, like in IOM, we've enjoyed that collaboration. PGI has helped us with their shelters. We have lots of victims that we brought who are in need of protection, who are in need of shelters. And we thank God that PGI is there. We thank God for NATIP, they have that shelter. These are all benefits of collaboration, Kosudo and the rest of them. So we're able to get those services across to the victims just because we collaborate. We don't have anything, but when we all work together, we are able to achieve much.
Thank you. Matthew, the same question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just like my other colleagues have said, without collaboration and partnership in the fight against human trafficking, we will go nowhere. And that is why sometime in 2011, the agency inaugurated the IICU unit, Intelligence and Cooperation Units, to promote international cooperation and mutual legal assistance, so that, for example, in case there is a case which we are doing here, like we all know, human trafficking is a clandestine thing. Trafficker might be over there and other agents here. If we have a situation like that, because of partnership and collaboration, we'll be able to, meet our partners in the country where the trafficker is to enable us share information together for effective prosecution of the case. Because without collaboration, the purpose of prosecution will not be met. because there may be serious informations that you need to enable you have an effective prosecution. So without that collaboration and partnership, we will not be able to get there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say on the benefits of collaboration, but same as my colleagues, I will try to focus on specific ones. I second my colleagues, particularly what my ION colleague has said. I think that one of the key aspects of collaboration is to maximize our efforts in the way that we get the expertise of each different partner. As I mentioned yesterday, for example, when we look at, it's one example among others, but the fact that NAPTIP cannot be in every state, it means that it also needs the support of other agencies, such as the police or the immigration, but also civil society organizations that would be present in these states to share information with NAPTIP. Without that, it makes NAPTIP's work more difficult. But it's the same, for example, with us as international partner. UNODC, for example, we don't have a presence in most states in Nigeria. We're present in Abuja, in Lagos. But for example, if we need to do some work in Benin, we rely also a lot on our partners, IOM, who is there, but Pathfinders, NAPTIP, the task force, and all other partners that we're working with. And without that partnership, we would not be able to develop our technical assistance portfolio accordingly and in line of the needs of our different partners. So that's also very important to us. And maybe, I think on an international level, we saw that when we deployed the liaison magistrates in Italy and Spain, it also enabled to build some trust between the different partners. That's also a challenge that we see, the unwillingness to share information because we don't necessarily trust the other side. And we saw that building that cooperation enables to facilitate communication between partners, building that trust that is absolutely fundamental when we're talking about tackling this organized crime activity.
Thank you. We can see that benefit of collaboration is enormous. When I am talking, is let me see and leave others. Other people should have something to say. Because if you start talking of benefits of collaboration, you may exhaust this section with it. Like I think we are products of collaboration. Because of collaboration, we're able to rescue victims from abroad. We don't have presence there. We use our collaboration efforts to bring them. If it is not collaboration, we can't do it. Like I was saying yesterday that with your phone number, we may get information around you. We are not magicians. It's collaboration here and there. We may go to DSS. We need this, they are providing it. If we don't have understanding with them, partnership with them, they say, who are you? Just go. We don't carry guns. Yet, you see that some people are afraid of NAPTIP. We work with police, we work even with the military in order to achieve our goals. So thank you everyone for your response. And that takes us to the next. I think the audience, we are satisfied with the benefit. All we need, I think, to some extent we are satisfied. This is a specific question. Do you remember a specific experience where your organization have done something differently in collaboration? UNODC. Specifically, you remember where the organization have done something different in collaboration?
Yeah, well, I will mention again the liaison magistrate initiative, and maybe I can give a few details on that. When we realized that the international cooperation, both operational but also judicial cooperation, human trafficking cases had a lot of challenges between West African countries and European countries for a wide range of different reasons. It seemed that it was very difficult for the different countries to actually build international cases, which was actually a necessity because these were transnational trafficking cases. So that's where UNODC came in and put together this liaison magistrate initiative, which was something very operational. Instead of focusing on the formal cooperation between the different ministries of foreign affairs and embassies, we thought that what was needed was actually a much more operational kind of cooperation. And we supported the Ministry of Justice of Nigeria in deploying a first prosecutor, so a Nigerian prosecutor, to Italy to support this cooperation. And it's something very practical. Basically, we have that prosecutor in Italy. She was first in Sicily and now she's in Rome, working with Italian prosecutors on specific cases. She comes back to Nigeria with a lot of information on these cases. She works with the Ministry of Justice and the different stakeholders in Nigeria to build that case. And that has created a very interesting momentum. And over the last 2 years, we have now supported the deployment of a second Nigerian prosecutor, this time in Spain. And it's really something that both countries seem very satisfied with, because we're talking about something very concrete. And I think that it's very innovative in the way that usually liaison magistrates are more, let's say, European magistrates, but to have African magistrates deployed in European countries, it shows that also for African countries, they're stepping up in putting their people out there. And I think that's something that we're very happy with, and hopefully we can build on it further.
The same question right here. If you can hear us. Do you remember a specific experience where your organization has done something differently in collaboration?
Yes, I would say there's a variety of unique ways that we began to look at collaboration. Our model at IJM is very specific to really holding perpetrators accountable, and that's something that we found. I wouldn't say to be a struggle, but is sometimes not the easiest thing to do within specific communities of work. And what we have done is we began to collaborate with other NGOs to actually start working within the model that we operate. And so we do that through direct mentorship with that NGO or with those NGOs to ensure that they are actually enforcing with the government arrest of those suspects. A lot of times what will happen is victims will be identified and those victims will be rescued, but there's no follow-up. Those get some direction of it. And so what we, from a collaborative standpoint, is really just kind of come beside some of these other organizations to help build their internal mechanisms and for them to kind of understand and operate in a way that focuses on the accountability and deterrence model. So.
Thank you. The same question goes to NAPTIP. Do you remember a specific experience where the organization have done something different in collaboration?
Yes, NAPTIP, I would say collaboration has been the key and the tool with which NAPTIP has been working. And I remember a specific case that we had, and we have this difficulty in getting the victims. But because of collaboration with the country on the other side, the victim were able to, come to court in Nigeria to testify in respect of the particular matter. And because of that partnership and collaboration that we have, we were able to make headway in that case. Thank you.
Okay, let me just give a specific example. IOM, we had observed that there is a lot of dynamism in the trafficking circle, particularly for the criminal justice actors. So you could look at, for example, the task force, you could look at NAPTIP when you talk about prosecution, you could look at when you talk about the investigation, the police, the task force, NAPTIP, and other agencies, everybody having their own style of carrying out their job. But the target is to nail the trafficker and to nail the human smuggler. So what we are doing differently now is we are seeing how we can synergize and come up with like a manual for prosecutors, be it NAPTIP prosecutor, be it task force. There's a task force in Delta State now. So there will be some level of uniformism and capacity building so that everybody can really be on the same page. We are also doing that for the investigators. We had the meeting last year, and thankfully we had somebody from NJI, that is the body that regulates the judges, and we had from these criminal justice sector actors, we had from those that are into prosecution, and we had those that are in investigation. So that is something that we're doing differently to see how we can stimulate these trainings, not leaving any actor behind. It's also extending even to the judges, because as you know, there are judges that handle human trafficking cases, and they just focus on that. So we want to see how we can bring a uniform manual so that once you pick it up, you just know the things to look out for and the things that are maybe not really so significant, because based on the act, either the NAPTIP Act or the task force law. So that is one example of what we are doing differently now.
Thank you, the panelists. I think they tried their best on a specific experience. Just like I told you, we will have specific experience also. Yesterday I informed us that from here, the case was ongoing in UK. We had our men, one of them traveled down to Birmingham City to give testimony, and two others from here used video link to testify. I think it's a specific collaboration that make it happen. And in that case, we had judgment to the glory. Nigeria was proud. Everybody were like, this is something different. Thank you.
The survivors and returnees, as part of our collaborative efforts as well. I think what we found at PJI is that they're very eager to provide information, particularly if they feel that their best interests are in mind. So it's important that we bring them into the conversation. They're the ones who have the lived experience. They're the ones who have, they're the most credible messengers, right? So it's important as we're putting our heads together to collaborate that we ensure that their voices are also included, because they can help us actually design the most effective interventions. I mentioned during our rehabilitation workshop last week that we have a group called The Voice, and it's a group of, whenever we're trying to put together an intervention, when we're trying to put together an awareness raising project, we bring these experts to the table. It's not people like IJM or, like IOM, UNODC, or NAPTIP. We bring together survivors of trafficking, we bring together former traffickers, people who are currently recruiting, and we sit together and we say, look, what is the solution to this problem? You are the ones who have the real-time intelligence on what is going on. And so they're the ones who are able to help us craft the intervention because they know what will work because they are the target beneficiary. So it's important that we continue to include them in these conversations to ensure that we actually have the most effective interventions. So I wanted to just know that.
Oh, sorry, I would just piggyback on that and say you're absolutely right. And at IJM, from a global standpoint, we have started what we call the Global Survivor Network, ESN for short, and that's where we actually we actually engage with survivors, build a network so that they can be a voice to their local community, but also to the global stage, and really actually begin to move initiatives and, just like you're saying, lead that fight, because who knows it more than the survivors themselves. So I agree with that statement 100%. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing it up. Almost understand something. How we are talking here is trafficking in person. Involve the trafficker, the recruiter, everybody, starting from the victim. Because yesterday, even there are sometimes go out of our way for victim protection. So I think they're included. I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I think the biggest change that needs to be made to improve collaboration is for everyone to understand that we are in the same fight. We may work for different organizations. Each organization may have a different mandate, but if you want to boil it all down, we're all in the same fight. And I think that's where, not only within the development world and in the fight against human trafficking, but anywhere that you go in the world, people can become very protective of what they consider to be their turf or their area of operation. So I think the first step is, and the most critical step for all of us to agree that we are partners, and that it doesn't matter who gets the credit for what's taking place as long as victims are being located and removed from their area, from whatever exploitation that's taking place, but also to ensure that we're strengthening the most important aspects in this fight as the government institutions continue on, and to build their capacities to defend these issues directly. So that's what I would say. The first thing is that we just all have to agree that this is a common fight with a common goal, despite what our acronym is or our organization and what set of goals each one of us may have.
Thank you. The same question goes to I-Development.
I think the critical changes, we can improve collaboration. I think there's an issue of trust. When we build more trust among ourselves, that would make collaboration fly. At IOM, we have what you call data sharing agreements that we have introduced, and that helps us so that partners that we collaborate with, we can be very free to share data with them. And another thing too is feedback. If we collaborate and we get prompt feedback, it really helps the collaboration to be stronger. I give you an example of just what transpired last year, how a trafficker was we just told Nancy. And when we got that feedback, naturally, next time you want to pass that kind of message. So prompt feedback has has a strong role it plays that helps collaboration.
Yeah, I think one of the critical changes that we can adopt is we should change our mindset to realize that we are not in a competition, but we are all fighting a common goal, which is bringing human trafficking to an end or to the barest minimum. We should know that human trafficking is not just for one particular agency, but for us all. If we are able to change that mindset to know that we are all working towards a common goal, I think the world would be a better place for us all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think it has several ways, but I really think that it's not necessarily institutional changes that we have to make here. I mean, you already have MOUs existing, or you also have the different government partners coming at the different key events or policy documents that are developed on trafficking. So it's more like every day, I mean, day to day, and everybody's job basically to change the behavior that we have. So it also comes, and I think, for example, Ivan yesterday mentioned, talk to other people, exchange numbers, WhatsApp, etc. But I think that's exactly what is needed, is to build these informal changes so that you know who you need to reach out on specific matters. So again, we go to that expertise thing. If I need some specific information, am I going to ask that to NGO 1, 2, 3? Am I going to ask that to NAPTIP? And yes, to the police. There's a range of partners, and I think it's very important to have that direct line of communication with the different stakeholders we're working with. I think that the different state task forces that IOM, UNODC supported NAPTIP to implement in the different states of Nigeria is going in the right direction, because that provides a platform for regular exchanges between these partners. And I think that enhancing these regular exchanges of information is really the right way to go.
Thank you. I think that we're very well put on this particular question. Two key things I took from there is ego, competition, feedback. So feedback matters. When you give feedback, you got this information from NIS, you got it from here. It may even be an individual informant. I think that is that. The next question, we start from the researcher. How do organizations win by collaboration? You know this. How do we win? I said, how do organizations win by collaboration?
So what we get from it, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we win a lot. First, what we win is in the field, in like our efficiency, how we work against against human trafficking. I see that we're more efficient for example, from a law enforcement perspective, when we're working more with the different stakeholders, both at national, state, and also international level, we see that we have more results. So that's and in the end, that's our goal, to tackle human trafficking. That's our common goal. So I think that if we as an organization see that we are moving forward to achieving that goal, that's probably the best win that we can get. Then in more practical terms also, I think that we win in terms of our legitimacy, on our credibility, why we are here. I think that, for example, with the IOM, but other UN agencies, when we work more together, it's also a good sign for our national partners, for our other international partners, that shows also a good way to go. And it's the same for national counterparts. I know that, for example, in the donor community, sometimes, especially if they're not necessarily based in Nigeria, they're a bit lost because the setting, institutional setting in Nigeria is so wide. Yes, and we can see today actually so many different stakeholders involved that showing these kind of partnerships make it easier, and I think it really encourages people to support further.
How do organizations win in collaboration? I'll just speak on the aspect of the victims now. Like NAPTIP, we have won in terms of collaboration, but when other organizations, give materials and other things to set up victims, you are happy not just getting justice for victims of human trafficking, but also ensuring that they are well rehabilitated. Like a victim that have learned sewing or hairdressing, you are being able to provide equipment and other things for the victim to start off. And then you are very happy when you do follow up and you see your victim progressing, and then you're happy whenever you call such a victim, whether or not he has concluded the court session, whenever you call such a victim, you are always willing and ready to come and testify. And I think that is a win for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we win in terms that we have stronger impact. We win in the terms that we have faster intervention when we collaborate. And sometimes, most likely, in most cases, is cost efficient when we collaborate. I'm sure the example you gave when you had to do video conference, I guess if the guy was to travel, probably the cost would have been higher. But at the end of the day, you got your results with that.
The same question to you.
All right. I would say we lose ultimately if we don't collaborate. It doesn't matter if your collaboration is small or large. You only collaborate with two people or two organizations, that's absolutely fine. But the moment that you don't collaborate, you lose. I think the win, I'll just narrow it down to one thing, and that is when you collaborate and you collaborate well, you are really force multipliers. We know, and I've said it before, this is a large fight. We cannot be everywhere in the world, and so in order to magnify the impact that's had and actually produce change, real substantial change, it can only happen through collaboration. So, and once again, that collaboration doesn't have to be formal. I'm a strong believer in informal networking and in informal collaboration. As long as you know where to go, who to talk to when you have an issue, and share that information, that's what really pushes things forward, and we can see change from that. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. I think that dealt with it adequately, but I have a few things to add. If you disciplinary talk about justice, if we collaborate, we have justice. If we collaborate, we have efficiency. If we collaborate, specifically, reintegration will be enhanced. Not to giving victim to Pathfinder, ETA giving victim to Pathfinder, giving it to Kosudu. There are so many ways. Kosudu, Pathfinder, they will assist and will make progress. We can even hear that if you don't collaborate, you get the opposite, which is you lose. Everybody will lose. So thank you. Now we take us to the next question. What is the number one way to substantiate differences in collaboration? The word there is substantiate differences.
You're asking what is the way to substantiate these differences in collaboration. You know, we collaborate based on expertise and your area of intervention. So, the ways to differentiate it, if a particular organization is good in a particular field or has expertise in that field. For example, PGI, to the best of my knowledge, is very good in sheltering. They have a shelter and they have capacity to manage the shelter. So when we collaborate, we take into cognizance that comparative advantage that they have. And that would be the strengths that we would leverage on. NATIC too, they have so many areas, but particularly we're happy that the trafficking reports that they've got convictions in some areas. So we leverage on that area of strength in each organization. So we can differentiate it. Okay, fine, this is good in this is good in this, this is good in this. That would be what they'll bring to the table, and that is what we would amplify in our terms of collaboration. That way we differentiate that area of expertise for the bigger picture.
UNODC.
Yes, I fully agree. I think it's also a question of that sometimes we get a bit lost within our own mandates, but I think that each one of us has a specific role to play. So it's more, I think the crucial point is to have a clear mapping of the different partners who are involved, what they want to do, how they intervene. I believe we will have a bit later a presentation on the national referral mechanism, and we saw, for example, one of the challenges in the national referral mechanism was the mapping of the different service providers. So that's a concrete example where we could do better, have a clear mapping of the different partners out there. What do they do? How can we reach out to them? And I think that's, for example, a clear issue where we could have that differentiation between the different partners.
Yeah, NAPRI has different mandates to arrest, to prosecute, and to rehabilitate victims of human trafficking. Based on this, we have various units that have been designated to handle different categories of the mandates. Like for me, I'm the legal and prosecution department, and that is where we work and do our thing of prosecuting and ensuring that we'll get conviction for the agency. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question to you, Adrian.
Yes, I would agree with what's been said so far. The crucial part is to map out what each one of your partners or service providers in an area can provide. I would that one way to leverage this beyond just understanding what they do, is to actually work together in a capacity building set. Done is we have brought multidisciplinary partners together to complete practical exercises, varying skills and actually learning more about each other prior to a crisis or an event taking place. And I think that really helps solidify a better understanding for each agency, what their strengths are and what other agencies can provide to them in a practical standpoint. And so that's just one thing I would encourage again is knowing what the providers have, but also take it from paper to actually practical before you guys hit an event where it actually has to become a real life scenario. And from those practical exercises, you should be able to learn more about the organizations that you're working with, what their actual strengths are, and then how you can leverage those more effectively.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, from what all the panelists have said, to understand that specialization brings about collaboration. Law as a law unit, you collaborate with the judiciary, collaborate with, you know the specific area to collaborate with. Then investigation, know the specific area they work better with the subscribers, with DSS, with this. Then your mandate matters. So this all make collaboration work better. This next question is going to be specific. Then it will go as an individual and as organization. What motivates you to collaborate with other organization agencies? Let's start from founder, executive director, VJI.
I think for me, I take it so personally. I'm up. I have Benin blood running through my veins, and so the idea of our reputation, particularly for Benin girls, being that once we travel overseas, we're there to work with prostitution, and is something that I certainly would like to see change. There's so many other aspects of the Great Benin Kingdom and our history that really should lead the conversation when we start talking about Edo State. And so for me, it's a personal motivation to bring an end to something that I think ultimately deprives people of their fundamental human rights. And so that's my underlying motivation. I think as far as working with others, it's because I know that I don't know everything. I think I'm aware of the fact that my strengths are, certain aspects, but there are other things that I'm not very good at. And so the same way that I pick my staff to ensure that we have somebody who's knowledgeable on operations, we have somebody who's knowledgeable on administration, on sheltering, these are things that I may not be the best at, but I do the same thing, I think, when it comes to partnerships with other organizations. The reason why we actually even brought all of you here together because we understand the significance. We can do more effectively together. And so I think my personal motivation to bring an end to trafficking is really what drives me in this work. And it's the reason why I understand the significance of working with other people as well, because collectively we can certainly do more together.
Thank you. The same question goes to as a person, as an organization. What is that motivates you?
As a person, I align myself with, As a person, I fully align myself with what Uta said. As an organization, that is actually just the way to go. IOM is the United Nations Agency for Migration. The world has come together to forge ahead. And that is the way it should be. So that is the current motivation, because that is the way things ought to be done. And that's what we're actually doing.
Same question to NAPTIP.
Yeah, NAPTIP as an organization is motivation to collaborate with other partners, achieve its mandate of human trafficking, and to enable it to achieve its mandate to fight against human trafficking. Because NAPTIP knows that collaboration is the key, and without other agencies, it cannot achieve its mandate alone. And as a person, And as a prosecutor, I like to get justice for victims of human trafficking. Thank you.
The same question for IGN. I think you are getting the question. Hello?
Thank you. Yeah, so I would say, I'll just sum it up like this. We are better together. That is my belief in everything that we do in life. And so, specifically to the human trafficking fight, I personally wanted to join into this just because I wanted to be able to leverage some of the expertise and talents that God has given me to give back to others. And I found that this fight was the best. From just a general collaborative standpoint, it's very important, in my opinion, that we work together. And I believe that without this collaboration, there will be no movement. And so I'll just go back to what I said before. We are better together. There's not one instance in my life that it has been me alone that has made a difference. And it's always been me in collaboration with others throughout my life, whether it's on a specific team or even just generally within my marriage, that we're able to do things better together. So.
Thank you. I think my main motivation is actually to on behalf of the UNODC, is to get the clear understanding of the current trends and patterns of human trafficking in Nigeria, to get a clear understanding of what are the current challenges, what are the current best practices in the fight. Let me repeat myself, but again, I'm based, for example, in Abuja. I'm not out there in the field. There are so many places I've never been to in Nigeria. So I think we need to stay humble in what we know, and the only way to get more information is actually through partnering with all the relevant partners who are out there. So once we have that, that's how we can provide, as UNODC, a relevant analysis, which is also develop the necessary technical assistance that is relevant to the work of our partners. Our job is to support all the Nigerian counterparts active in this field. And to do that in the best way, we need to know what's the situation and what our partner needs. So I think that's probably why I definitely need cooperation. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to do our job.
Thank you, all the panelists. This is a specific question to an individual and not to the organization. Some of us, it's because of the mandate of our organization. And to some of us, it's because of the passion. When I look at the founder of Disciplinary, she has passion, where she was coming from, to start this. We're like, we are going to make mistakes. But not regretting it today. Our passion is growing, and we just pray for her and our organization to continue growing. At this point, my questions are not exhausted. Yes, time has gone too far. Collaboration issue is not something we do in an hour, in 2 hours. We can be here in a deep to discuss this. And I think we're not tired. Is it tiring? So thank you. We want comments. We just have less than 10 minutes from the attack. Less than 10 minutes, as I said.
All right, thank you very much to all the panelists that were able to join us today. Thank you, Steve, from IJM, all the way from Ghana. I'm not sure if you can see me. We appreciate you joining us online.